bends, I think with bends you should really have a look at the gauge of your strings. I mean, if you're really, you know, muscular person, I mean, if you've had a look at Eddie Van Halen, for instance, he's really heavily built upper body. His hands are massive, and if you imagine with the massive hands you get similarly sized finger ligaments, so when it comes to bending strings it's not going to be too difficult for him, even with heavier gauge strings. These on here are 9, so it'll be 9, 11 and maybe 16, something like that. I used to use 8, 10 and 15, so I've only gone up 1, and it's really for convenience, because 9 sets are probably the easiest set to find. I used to make up the ones when I was using 8, 10s and 15s from custom gauge, and you know, that can put the price up. So also with the scale length of the guitar, that's the distance from the bridge to the nut. Some scale lengths are shorter. The Gibson Les Paul, for instance, shorter than a Stratocaster. Fenders, I think, generally are a bit, although some of the other than the Telecaster and the Stratocaster, I think some of the others are shorter scale. That makes it easier to bend strings with the same gauge, so you might want to, if you find yourself comfortable with, I think now, yeah, comfortable with 9s, say on a Strat, you know, you might be more comfortable with 10s on a Les Paul, or you might find it's just, you might want to go to 8s on a Strat if you're comfortable with 9s on a Les Paul. So back to the bending, it's really, you just have to practice for accuracy. Just one thing that's worth pointing out, at the 12th fret, that's going to be the easiest bend you can make, because you're at the midpoint of the string. Say you're down at the 7th fret, there's going to be more force. If you look at the angle, when I bend that string, that angle is more acute, and if you go back to your physics, you'll know there's actually more force being on the string at that position. And definitely down there's one it's quite, especially for a held bend, that's the one that I've got fairly standard fingers with sort of fingernails and skin that goes close to the nail. And when I was playing a lot, sometimes doing a lot of that, say for is it Honky Tonk Woman? Flat there. Doing a lot of that can actually pull the skin back from your finger and make your fingers bleed. So again, I'd say that's nature's way. If your fingers are bleeding, saying you probably played a bit too long. So not that you can't keep on playing, but you know, if you're really damaging your fingers, then give it a rest until your fingers recover. Don't carry on playing through very much pain. I mean, when you start out, you've probably got to go through a bit of a pain threshold to get enough callus on your finger ends to keep playing. And you might even get blisters, but if you're getting blisters regularly, or you're pulling the skin, you know, from your nails, then you need to sort of take steps and either get lighter gauge strings or change how you're playing. So anyway, back to bend. So really, you want to be able to accurately bend a whole tone and a half tone, and in the extreme, a whole plus a half tone, depending on where you do it. So I tend to use the half bend, the 1.5 tone somewhere up there where it's pretty easy. I mean, it's not too bad there, but you do really want to practice so you can get, when you think you're going to play a half tone or a whole tone bend, that's actually what you're going to play, and it's not going to come out like halfway or some strange beast. So it's always a good policy to record yourself now and again. Don't get too hung up on how it sounds. You know, if it sounds terrible, just say, well, yeah, at the moment it's not good, I need to do more work on it. But don't get to the stage where you think, oh, this is so bad, I'll never be able to play guitar, and give up on the whole thing. So you've just got to sort of keep at it until you can get it predictable. So I think you've really got to be able to hold bends. Some people might say, well, you know, if you're doing a lot of shred, say, and you maybe just do a tremolo, or keep it to slurs, you can get away without bending. And you know, if you keep those particular styles which don't really need a lot of bending, yeah, it'll be okay. But if you want to do other styles, sooner or later you need to bend, and I think at some stage you need to be able to hold those bends and put a tremolo on them. So you need to get them accurate, so you can go a half tone, so you can use them musically. And once you've got the, you want to put some sort of tremolo end on it to make it sound more musical, more vocal. And there's different tremolos you can use. So there's a slow one, and I tend to use the tremolo speed to suit the tempo of the music that's being played. So if you're playing something, really, because sometimes you've only got so small time to actually get a tremolo in, so you get like half a funny stubby tremolo if you were trying to do it too slow. So when you're tremoling a string that's not bent, it's just going to sharpen, then go back to the note that's fretted. So with a bent string, you can flatten and sharpen. So and you can do a really deep one of those classic, not classic rock, but I don't know. Anyway, they've got a particular sound to them. So I don't particularly like them, but they do, you know, suit certain styles of music. So if that's the style of music you want to play, then you've got to learn, you know, that particular style of vibrato. And there's that really fast one that Paul Kossoff and Angus Young tend to use, which again I can't do very well. So, but you know, if you want to do a sort of a Kossoff or Young styled piece, and just practice them, see which works for the various styles of music you might want to play.